video. We've got a little controversial one. Today, we've got the origins of lynching culture in the United States. This was a terrible time for America.
Yeah.
Lynching is a horrible thing, and a lot of Black Americans died from this, unfortunately. You got any opinions for this video?
I was like, I don't know much about lynching in it, but I've seen pictures. I don't advise people to search it up, but I'm sure some of you guys in the comments already seen some of those pictures or know someone that was a victim of lynching. I think it's one of the worst ways to kill people, bro. One of the most dehumanizing ways. So just
It's animalistic and
Yeah.
it's barbaric, bro.
absolutely terrible to do that to another human being. Absolutely terrible. But yeah, guys, make sure to smash this like button, subscribe, and also we've got a Patreon, guys, where we're gonna be dropping music reactions.
We're dropping today.
Yep.
Make sure.
Make sure to
Once this is live,
subscribe.
the Patreon's gonna be live as well, man.
Come
So,
on.
let's go.
And we're also planning to go live as well. Mike, we need to
Should we say?
we need to be going live to connect with our
What, 10K?
supporters. Yeah, 10K. 10K sounds reasonable.
Get us to 10K, we're going live.
Go live and do live reactions. Yeah, enough talking, man. Let's dive in there.
The legal definition of lynching is when three or more persons, which constitute a mob, put someone to death extra-legally without court sanction, without legal sanction, and they do it for the purpose of tradition
Tradition.
and or whatever their version of justice is. And this becomes a legal definition by the 1920s, or the NAACP, and their struggle, of course, against lynching and trying to make lynching a federal crime. Lynching actually begins in the Revolutionary War years. And it's named after the brother of the man who founded Lynchburg, Virginia. And lynching took place, this is extra-legal justice, in quotes, takes place during that period of time because it's not too many courts. It's sort of difficult to get to them. This is a period, the British are also in place in many places in the South, and so it becomes very dangerous to move around. And so this is a form of justice, of local justice that is not condoned by a formal court. It's interesting, it's not until 1886 that the number of Black lynch victims actually exceed the number of white lynch victims. So this is an American tradition that becomes racialized later.
Okay, that's
wow.
interesting right there. So it seemed like lynching was not just
For blacks.
for blacks. It seemed like it was a thing back then. Regardless of your race. I didn't know that actually. I thought lynching was primarily or mostly for Black people. But wow, that's that's why it's good to learn it and do research.
Yeah.
That becomes racialized later for a number of reasons. There's a constant struggle over the meaning of who deserves the protection and rights that are talked about in the U.S. Constitution. And what happens, of course, is that one of the function of a stereotype, of a racial stereotype, is to show that someone is undeserving of first-class citizenship. And until rather recently, first-class citizenship was seen not as a right, but as a privilege. And it was a privilege accorded to those with a particular character and who lived their life in a particular way and had the honor that you are talking about. This really stymied activism because in the history, African-American history, there is which still exists to some extent, a big conservative element that really says, you know, if we live our life a certain way, we're going to become first-class citizens because that's what the Constitution says, but it's a privilege, it's not.
Mike, what do you make of that? You know, of citizenship being a privilege rather than a birthright. What do you make of that? What system do you prefer? You know, the one where you have to, like, you know, prove that you're worthy of being a citizen, or where your birthright dictates. You know,
it's a bit insensitive. I feel like it's birthright. Where you're born, you should just be a citizen of the country.
Yeah, but what if you're not contributing to society though? You know, you're just a menace. You're just causing problems. Do you think those type of individuals
that's a completely different? That's a different conversation for a different day.
Yeah.
And if you're not contributing to the society, we're talking about like you're 18 plus. That's when you can contribute. You don't really contribute much to society unless you're in a very special group of like sports or very intelligent. A 15-year-old, 10-year-old doesn't really contribute that much to society. Do you agree? So you only become a menace at a certain age. Maybe you guys disagree with me.
Fam. People are menaces from young, fam. I've seen menaces at 10 years old. I've seen kids that have committed murder at 10, 9 years old. Heard of kids.
True. Yeah, true. That's a good point. Yeah. But I feel like where you're born, you should be a first class citizen, in my opinion. But if you disagree with me, right? You believe you have to prove that you should be a first class citizen.
I think so, bro. Well, like, to some extent, not automatically, but like I do like the idea because
the issue is from them times, as a black man, like it's very hard to prove that you're worthy. Like, so that doesn't make no sense.
Yeah.
Like you could do so much for the country, and just because of the color of your skin, they're gonna say you're not worthy. So that's why every person there should be a first class citizen. But
that's a good point that you made. The fact that, you know, it could prevent you from potentially being a first class citizen based off your color, rather than, you know, being a birthright. Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's a privilege. It's not a right.
I think this was what I was talking about before, Mike.
What are they trying to say?
I could be wrong by it, but I think they're basically saying like blacks are like closer to chimpanzees compared to like a fully developed humans. You know? So because scientists back then used to believe that stuff, that humans are not fully developed. Fam. So, you know what I'm saying?
Blacks, isn't it?
Blacks, yeah. They thought they were like the benchmark for intelligence, that the white man was the fully developed human, not the blacks. You know?
In the late 19th century, an evolving scientific theory claimed that human beings could be categorized and ranked by such constructs as social standing and group affiliation.
Drawing on Charles Darwin's theory of biology that the fittest will survive, this science, called social Darwinism, perpetuated various myths about how societies evolved.
One particularly destructive myth was that black people were inferior to white people.
And therefore, there was a justification to suppress their advancement in all areas, lest the society as a whole be brought down.
There had been prejudices always around color, ever since, you know, the first Africans came to the U.S., but they changed. And in the late 19th century, with the advent of social Darwinism and the need to think about black people and black labor and black bodies in a particular way, we begin to see this idea that blacks are actually beginning to devolve down the evolutionary scale, devolve into more primitive identities. And with primitive, of course, is lasciviousness and lack of control, lack of character, lack of honor, etc. And scientists actually sought to prove these things empirically. And from there, they begin to also think about the notion of what is happening to women. The idea around women's sexuality begins to change in this period of time as well. This need for this passionless sort of idea of white women who need to maintain their purity and the purity of the race, which is one of the fears, the bugaboos that come up around interracial relationships and this charge of rape.
While there was no shortage of reasons for discrimination against black people by white in this period, the emerging myth of the threat of the rape of a white woman by a black man became a tense focal point, and the often false accusation of rape, the chief justification for lynching.
One person of the period to expose this destructive myth was black journalist and anti-lynching activist Ida B. Wells.
The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. Okay.
Ida Wells was an activist, a woman who was born in Holly Springs, Mississippi in 1862. And in 1892, a very good friend of hers was actually lynched in Memphis, Tennessee, by the name of Tom Moss and two other men along with him. And what she begins to understand is that lynching is really taking on a new kind of face, quite literally. That blacks are being victimized now in greater numbers. And the reason that is given for this rise in lynchings, which reaches a peak in 1892, is the accusation that black men are raping white women. And she says it's new because there's no history of this in the numbers that people are professing. She knows that Thomas Moss certainly hasn't, and there's a whole history, there's a reason why he was lynched. He was actually competing successfully with another, with the white store owner. So what she does, which is really makes her so interesting, I think, an activist, is she becomes an investigative reporter. And so when she starts talking against lynching, she's just not giving an opinion, she's actually going to the sites of lynchings. She's using statistics that other people also use to disprove the idea. By simply finding out instances when there was a charge of rape that often they were just consensual relationships between black men and white women. And that in and of itself it turns the world upside down. Because if it's consensual, black men aren't monsters, as even now the social scientists are saying. If it's consensual, white women aren't desexualized and innocent of any kind of behavior and in need of all this protection, which black people are being killed in the name of. So it's a notion that really involves all of them, and they're all often dependent on the other and defined in opposition to the other. You can't have white people if you don't have black people, right? With all the characteristics that are also defined in opposition to one another. I mean, this is one reason why you have to have lynching, that even segregation, there's too much equality. I mean, you have to have something that really distinguishes white people from black people. And having black people be lynch victims and white people are able to be the spectators, now that's difference. Now that is a difference that is consistent.
I feel like it's like kind of like just disrespect. Because for me, that's one of the most disrespectful ways to kill someone, bro, is to lynch them.
Yeah, to show that they feel like they're inferior to you guys, that we gotta do this.
Make them feel superior.
And scare the rest of them from even interacting with them as well.
Yeah, you know.
I've learned a lot from this, man.
According to the
through the
Tuskegee
Tuskegee Institute,
from 1882 to 1951.
1951.
4,007.
Remember Tuskegee? We done a reaction to one of those
Yeah.
Tuskegee schools, man. You know, legendary school that Tuskegee. Yeah.
130 people,
Mostly black.
Mostly black.
Were lynched in the United States,
They were tortured,
hanged,
Burned alive.
dragged behind trucks,
and in several cases their
Their
bodies
bodies
were
were
dismembered.
dismembered, and the pieces either discarded or kept by many as souvenirs.
Wow. 30 years of lynching. Okay, so I think the darker areas is where the most amounts of lynching. I could be wrong, by the way. Let me see. 1,000 and over black. So yeah, I think this is a map potentially to show where the most amounts of lynchings took place. I could be wrong again, like I said. So you can see from the south, because these areas, Mike, historically speaking, I think even till now, like that, you know, these the southern part of the United States, this area is where you're gonna find the most amounts of black people. So yeah. Do you want to read that, Mike?
These severed,
Severed.
sorry.
Yeah, these severed.
Severed body parts were kept by individuals as souvenirs. That is one of the most disgusting things I've ever read in my life.
Seriously. That's psychopath stuff. Is that not what Jeffrey Dahmer was doing? It was cutting people's parts up and keeping it in his freaking... Because some of these people are psychopaths, basically, you know. You know, who does that?
That would be passed on from generations. What? To generation as cherished family. Hermlims. Allen et al. 2000. British 993. Dre 2002. The taking and displaying of human body parts as trophies by Amerindians.
Amerindians.
I'm struggling.
I think these are I could be on this. Are those not the indigenous
I think so.
Indians or so?
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's it, man. Mike, what's your takeaway, bro?
That lynching didn't only start with just black people. I thought it was only for black people.
Yeah.
That there was an activist that was trying to prove that there was loads of black and white relationships, which was beautiful.
She was advocating to end lynching, basically, and she was trying to provide evidence, you know, that lynching is bad.
In 1862, to do something like that, the bravery.
Yeah.
You gotta commend her. And what else did we learn? I just felt like,
you know, to be fair, like I feel like people back then were very ignorant when it comes to morality, because it's not just lynching. Like even in the UK, like there's history of beheading. You know, people getting beheaded for cheating, for lying, for stealing. So you know, it shows that back then, man, people weren't really, like, morality was of lower standard compared to now. Like now we know that beheading, for the most part, is not justifiable, innit?
Right.
You'd have to do something really, really terrible to, like...
Death must have been so normal back then that they could lynch someone in front of kids, and there was pictures of kids looking up to the body smiling. But
Yeah. And also it shows that we've I don't know if this is the way to put it. You know, we're kind of like weak mentally, because back then, fam, kids would see stuff like this and they wouldn't be traumatized. Or at least not from my knowledge. You know, nowadays, if you was to do that in public, people would be traumatized, innit? Yeah, it's terrible, innit? Terrible, you know, what black people have gone through in the States. You know, thank God for change. I know some of you guys don't agree that things are better than before, but I think things are better than before, right? Let's keep it real. We really appreciate every single one of you guys that's been showing love, man. Make sure to smash this like button. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm sure some of you guys have a lot to say about this topic. You know, yeah, that's it.